Today on X-Play, we seek wisdom at the feet of the Tokyo Game Show. Just how fun is it to play with your Wiimote? Nintendo's launch lineup gives you the answers. If I had a sword like that, I'd never leave the house. It's X-Play.
Welcome to X-Play, your golden ticket to the chocolate factory that is the Tokyo Game Show.
I'm Morgan Webb, the Member of Parliament for Southern Hokkaido Prefecture.
And I'm Adam Sessler, fermented bean enthusiast.
Now that E3 has gone to live with Jesus, the Tokyo Game Show is the biggest event of the electronic entertainment year. So we're here in Japan sleuthing out the big stories and bringing them to you.
This TGS is of mythic proportions. If it gets any more mythic, it's likely to turn into a swan and rape someone.
To clarify, it is mythic because this holiday season is going to see all three next-generation consoles on the market.
Today we've got our focus on Nintendo. From the stellar game to the DS to the 4-hour line to play the Wii, Nintendo was one of the big winners of this year's E3.
But the Wii has opted out of the Tokyo Game Show, instead announcing its launch date at a press conference in New York last week.
I got a chance to go to the press conference. Here's what we learned.
Well, thank you, Adam, and hey, you're looking really good. Well, I'm here in New York on the Chelsea Pier getting all excited about Wii, and all I can think of is good times, good times.
Our strategy is based on one core belief, that the next step in gaming is bringing gaming back to the masses.
Well, today, they finally told us what we've been looking for, the price and the release date of Nintendo's Wii. It is going to be released November 19th, 2 days after the PlayStation 3, and it's going to be selling for a relatively meager $249 and, of course, 99 cents. In addition to that, there's even more. When you buy your Wii console, you're obviously getting the controller and the Nunchuck edition, but more importantly, you're going to be getting a copy of Wii Sports. That was the game that wowed everybody back at E3. It includes baseball, golf, and tennis, with 2 new additions. Bowling, because we all love bowling, and really exciting, boxing. That all looks fun to you, but you probably want to know some actual facts, like how many games can I play? What's going to be available at launch? Well, there are some answers. There will be up to 30 games available during the launch window. That's until December 31st. And there's a remarkable variety of games. There's 2 really big Nintendo games. The first is Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. The other is Excite Truck. Where's Metro Prime 3? Well, that's coming somewhere out there in 2007, along with the new Super Mario game. Now, for some of you, and this is myself included, we were a little bit surprised. I was expecting the console to be a little bit cheaper, and I was expecting it to come out a little bit sooner. In addition, there is no online multiplayer right out of the box. So with all these questions, what do I do? Well, I went to the big people to get the answers.
The question is not whether there'll be multiplayer online games. The question is when, and we're committed to bring that as early into 2007 as we can.
But 2007 is going, it will be there somewhere in 2007.
Absolutely.
In addition to playing online multiplayer, there's another big online thing a lot of people have been excited about. That's the Virtual Console. That will be available at launch, and they haven't said all the games that are going to be available, but it will be the original Legend of Zelda, Super Mario 64, and Super Mario World. And they promise to have continuous monthly updates of the games available, so that alone is a pretty exciting treat. But honestly, who cares about old school? We're in the new school. Let's go check out some stuff. The game it looks like everybody is going to be playing at launch is, of course, Wii Sports. It is remarkably easy to pick up and play, very satisfying, pretty hard to put down. We're seeing a lot of the same thing with a lot of the other games out here, but you'll have to wait until later in the show to find out about them.
While the Wii may not be here at TGS, no developer more strongly represents the spirit of Japanese gaming. A spirit rife with cartoon kittens, androgynous gunslingers, and power shovel simulators. As I've been here in Japan, I've realized it's not just the game. The entire country done gone crazy. Welcome to an X-Play look at that empire of signs known as Tokyo. Tokyo is a living, breathing thing, a thing of mystery, where respect for nature clashes with industrial consumerism. Let's take a look inside Tokyo, what the Japanese like to do for fun, from anime to arcades. Do these people work? Virtua Fighter 5, which is coming out in the spring, but here in Japan at the Sega arcades it's being tested. So it's sort of like the first version of Virtua Fighter 5 that people can play. It's all network and there's new characters. It's a lot of fun. I'm gonna go rescue my character right now. I don't know much about the game 0079, but I do know you have to be a member of the Principality of Zeon. This is a mahjong game where if you win, the girl takes her clothes off. Somebody give me some money. I'm coming for you, baby. In Japan, they gamble for chips. Why can't they just go buy them? Nina is a dream space that packs girls' love. Such a cute play minds being able to do is a privilege. Only the girl. What could she possibly mean? She seems so upset. What about your bag, lady? What about your bag? What trip through the peculiarities of the Japanese mind would be complete without manga? I meant mandarake, which is the last word in everything manga. You know, 40% of everything published in Japan is manga, and it's all here. Check it out. Every lifestyle is represented here. From gay, to very gay, to straight, to slightly criminal, to very criminal. Donuts. I love donuts. And they're 100% orange. That's always good, right? I wonder what this one's about. Provocative. These little things that look like your big toe, they cost $400. And they're used. Forget snakes on a plane. We have monsters on a train for $6,000. Here are the guys that made Tokyo their wrestling ring. See, we have Snot Monster and Happy Fun Time Slug Man and Cute Puppy Monster and Green Star Trek Monkey Man. As long as Japan keeps throwing incomprehensible stuff at us, we'll keep coming back till we figure it out. This is Morgan Webb reporting and saying sayonara.
The mockery of other cultures is so much fun.
But our privilege to scoff at Japan is coming to an end because very soon X-Play is going to start running on TV here.
Here's a look at a Japanese commercial for X-Play that started running here last week.
こんにちは、ビチャル。X-Play はみんなのためのとっても楽しいショーです。面白いキャラクターがいっぱい登場します。
カナダマン。
インターン。
ドンキンリンク。ザザー。No Eric.
A Cold Panda.
Many great characters. Konnichiwa. X-Play. Up next, we hit the floor, and later, hands-on time with the Wii on X-Play.
Some of my friends.
Welcome back to X-Play. We're here at the Tokyo Game Show, pretending to be respectable gaming journalists as an excuse to charge a bunch of sucking classic Famicom games to the company credit card. Shouldn't have said that on air. But since we're here, we thought we should check out some of the third-party software booths to find out more about the games we'll be seeing on shelves this holiday season. And since we were going, we decided we should probably show you, too. Okay, while there are so many games in the big guys' booths, we wanted to give you an opportunity to show you some of the smaller games that we definitely think are worth discussing. And this one is for the purposes of double-checking. It's Mobile Suit Gundam Target in Sight. This was shown as a video last year for the PS3 to demonstrate the system's powers, and it was jaw-dropping. So now we thought we'd see the game in action to get a better sense of how it's turning out. Well, the mechs look awesome. Everything is well animated, it's moving, and the game is very heavy on the action. One thing we have noticed, the environments, which is really the centerpiece of that Sony reel, showed them in a city with tons of detail and Indestructible. This is just some rather barren desert straight out of a Coyote and Roadrunner cartoon. That's not to say that the game isn't fun to play, but we're going to need to learn a little bit more to get a better sense of it, and we'll get to do that when it comes out here in Japan and whenever it does in the U.S. In the 7 times the charm category, we have Sonic the Hedgehog for the next-gen system. Behind me is the PlayStation 3 version. Here's some good news. They have fewer playable characters, and guess what? They're all hedgehogs. It includes a new hedgehog called Silver the Hedgehog. Now, this character moves more slowly, but it does have telekinetic powers, and I have a good reason to believe we have this character because of the physics you can find within the game. One bad thing, though, it seems to be modeling itself off the Sonic Adventure games. That means in between the really fast-paced fun levels, there will be more quest-based stuff around town that is slower paced. But really, on the biggest upside, it's a really pretty game. This is kind of the more realistic look they've wanted to give it for a while, and it looks like they've succeeded at that. Well, it's going to come out on the 360, but there's also a launch title for the PS3. So, do you remember that really ugly first-person shooter that was on the PSP? Well, this is its remarkably attractive PS3 brethren. This is Coded Arms Assault, and it's remarkable for a couple of reasons. One, it is really violent. I'm assuming Konami's intending this one really for the United States. Secondly, this is really the only shooter that we've seen that's sort of a clean, futuristic look. It takes place in a virtual reality setting where everyone seems to be made of blood is on the verge of explosion. The other important fact is, yes, this game is going to have multiplayer, though it looks like they have to work on it a little bit. Anyway, you can get all cybernetic and bloodlusty when it comes out sometime next year. All right, so of those games, I would definitely say Coded Arms is the one that has me excited. There seems to be not enough shooters out there on the floor, and then that one's also really pretty. I like my death to be pretty.
For more beautiful sentiments from Adam Sessler and more game footage from TGS, swing by G4TV.com/Tokyo for all of G4's Tokyo Game Show coverage. And we have trailers, we have interviews, and, you know, we have some video of Kevin Pryor dressed up as a gothic little Bo Peep. Woo! Our coverage will not stop until the Tokyo Game Show does, or someone dies. This I vow.
Coming up, our look at the DS. And later, quality time with the Wii on X-Play.
I'm Layla Cayley, and this is The Feed. Robert Downey Jr. will play Tony Stark in Marvel's $100 million Iron Man movie. Marvel Entertainment's president of production, Kevin Feige, said Marvel characters are not about how high they can jump or how fast they can fly. They're about their inner demons. And in other movie news, a Revenge of the Nerds remake begins shooting October 9th. Flyboys Christopher Marquette and Laguna Beach's Kristen Cavallari will star alongside Napoleon Dynamite's Pedro, Efren Ramirez. And finally, Set the Wayback Machine, Nintendo Power Magazine reports that several classic Commodore 64 games may be emulated on the Wii's Virtual Console. The British developer Studio 3, which owns Impossible Mission, and California Games hinted that the titles may be available along with other back catalog favorites. Well, that's all for now. Visit us on the web at g4tv.com/thefeed. It's the only news you need to know. I'm Layla Cayley, and you've been fed.
Really excited to be a part of NBA 07 to life.
I was shocked when I found out that Kobe got the cover, so I've decided to hold my own press conference.
Thanks for coming.
Today, I officially challenge Kobe to a game of one-on-one to determine who the real cover athlete should be. This is what the cover should have looked like. Any questions?
Does this mean we get to meet Kobe?
Rivalries, that's life in the NBA. NBA 07 to Life Volume 2, rated E for everyone.
Any smart questions?
everywhere.
Hey, thanks.
Welcome back to X-Play. I'm Adam Sessler. We decided to break with our normal schedule of making fun of video games next to a giant sphere to come here to the Tokyo Game Show to get cutting-edge news on the games and consoles we're going to see this holiday season. And here's a look at the future of the Nintendo DS.
While the Wii games are few and far between at TGS, the DS is just about everywhere you look. One of the most exciting games for American audiences is Final Fantasy III, a complete overhaul of the classic Famicom game. Just releasing it in America would have been enough, since it's the only game in the main Final Fantasy series that has never made it to U.S. shores. But Square Enix didn't stop there. The game is completely remade in 3D, with a greatly expanded storyline and brand new characterization. This fall, get ready to complete your Final Fantasy lineup. In a surprise announcement, Square also unveiled a Final Fantasy XII spin-off on the DS. It's a side story featuring the further adventures of Bon and the Sky Pirates. What's surprising about it? Well, you might think that a PS2 exclusive game would get a PSP spin-off, but it looks like the DS is too much of a dominating force in the handheld market to ignore. This is Rikuten Saiben 4. Well, it's basically the fourth installment of what we know as Phoenix Wright, but Phoenix Wright isn't in this one. You play a new hotshot attorney, so I don't know what they're going to call it. Finally, Castlevania, Portrait of Ruin, continues Konami's streak of fantastic vampire killing on handheld. Dracula's castle has been hijacked by a rival vampire called Bronner. Apparently, the Drac wannabe channeled all the death energy created during World War II to bring the castle back and threaten humanity. Two adventurers set out to defeat him, and you play them both simultaneously. Classic Castlevania design with a dual hero twist comes your way this fall. Additionally, I would like to suggest to anyone considering a 14-hour plane flight across the Pacific Ocean that a Nintendo DS and a copy of Meteos will make 4 of those hours fly right by. For the other 10, you're going to need some prescription pills, 2 miniature bottles of Jack Daniels, and an adequate constitution to avoid overdosing. Speaking of heaven, our hands-on look at the Wii is coming up right after the break.
Moments away, we get to play with the Wii on X-Play. 10 years.
The most lethal and agile warrior of feudal Japan.
Today, that spirit lives on in the most popular competition ever to hit Japanese television.
Ninja Warrior, part of Midnight Span, starting tonight at midnight, only on G4.
Welcome back to X-Play. I'm Morgan Webb, bringing you the news on Nintendo from this year's Tokyo Game Show. As we said earlier, Nintendo decided to take a pass on this year's TGS, but did have a press conference in New York to announce a release date and let the esteemed journalists of the gaming press get their hands on the Wii one more time. Luckily, in Japanese, the words for esteemed gaming journalist and frightened husk of a man are very similar, so the Nintendo execs let Adam in too. Here's his hands-on time with the Wii.
You know, these are one of those days where I really like my job, and I imagine you're pretty envious of me, because I'm surrounded by 24 Wii games that are unavailable anywhere else because the console hasn't been released. We're not going to get our hands on every single one of them, but we've chosen quite a few to give you a peek at what you'll be playing come November. Now, you're probably thinking, oh, I've seen Madden. I see Madden every year, and it's the same game with the football and the passing and the whatever. Well, it is quite different when it comes to the Wii.
You throw to pass, push to tackle, flick to kick. By building the game around the Wiimote's abilities, I have a feeling that Madden will start attracting a whole new audience who've only watched from the sidelines. Excite Truck combines the simple art of racing along with the physics of a pinball. You'll hold the Wii like handlebars as you navigate your way through an ever-changing landscape.
Moving up and down with your controller is going to have a large effect upon how you sort of land after doing a big jump. Quite clever and simple, and that seems to be the actual genius of this game.
Tony Hawk Downhill Jam takes those same controls and points them down. Tilting the Wiimote lets you perform various tricks quickly and intuitively. Trust me, this is how San Francisco is all the time.
I think it's safe to say that WarioWare is not going to have any depth because you would never expect that from a WarioWare game, but in terms of the way of broadening the way you have to deal with the challenges using the motion sensitivity, it's an obvious choice, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
While light on stories, Rayman Raving Rabbids makes up for with some of the most innovative mini-games on the floor, from disco dancing to cow tossing.
All right, as far as launch titles go, Zelda Twilight Princess is among the best I've ever heard of, and we're going to get a chance to show you what it's like to play it using the Wiimote.
Off the bat, I'm able to take down a couple of enemies with a swipe of my Wiimote. The thumbstick guides the Link along as I use the buttons underneath to focus on my next adversary. Bow and arrows have been simplified to a point and click. An overly sensitive remote throws off my aim at times. Hopefully, that can be adjusted. Ooh, and let's not forget a little fishing. Zelda Twilight Princess is a game that will push the Wii, as well as the gamer, to their limits.
At the end of the day, I got to say, it's pretty impressive how many different types of games are going to be available for the Wii. They seem to fall into two categories, stuff like Zelda, which really are your traditional type of games that are broad and deep and going to commit a lot of time from your life. Then there are others, and many of them, that are short, they're sweet, they're kind of fun to pick up and play, put down, and then revisit maybe a couple of months later. I think we're going to see more of the deeper games coming later in the year because, well, hey, they take longer to develop. But I got to say, as far as starting out on November 19th, I couldn't ask for much better. All right, back to you, me, whoever you are.
G4 will be here at the Tokyo Game Show all week long, so stick around for more coverage.
And for all the interviews, previews, and other prefixes attached to the word view that we've got, skip on over to g4tv.com/Tokyo. See, we have a whole section of our site devoted to Tokyo coverage. Please go visit it.
If no one goes and visits it, the web team will be sad. And if the web team commits suicide, the office is really going to smell when we get back to LA.
I know. So come by g4tv.com. You might just save a nerd.
Hey, yeah, be sure to watch X-Play tomorrow as we head back to the show floor to look at the best 360 games at the Tokyo Game Show.
This look at the best in Japanese gaming was brought to you by X-Play.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.